War Patrols, created by William Schmaltz. Copyright 2025. All rights reserved. This episode of War Patrols is sponsored by Flag Up Mailbox, located in Ironwood, Michigan. USS Harder, SS-257. Report of 4th War Patrol. Arrived at Pearl Harbor on November 30th, 1943, from the 3rd War Patrol. On December 5th, proceeded to Navy Yard, Mare Island, arriving there on December 12th, 1943. The following major jobs were accomplished. Replaced main engines with General Motors Model 16-278A. Installed recirculating fresh water pumps in both engine rooms. Overhauled high-pressure air compressors. Installed trim pump. Converted main ballast tanks to fuel ballast tanks. Removed degaussing system. Upgraded SJ radar. Removed 3-inch deck gun and replaced with 4-inch gun. Completed electrical installation for Mark 19 torpedoes in both torpedo rooms. Installed electrical ice cream freezer. March 16th, departed Pearl Harbor for Johnson Island in company with USS Seahorse. Conducted radar tracking drills throughout the night. This is the second time we have had the opportunity to proceed in company with another submarine. The training thus provided for our new radar operators and almost continuous drilling of our 2 separate fire control tracking teams was invaluable. March 18th, sighted Johnson Island. Moored alongside USS Seahorse at pier on Johnson Island. Took on 10,700 gallons of fuel oil and 1,000 gallons of fresh water. 1634. Departed Johnson Island in company with Seahorse. March 19th and 20th alternated with Seahorse in making approaches. Each made 4 radar and periscope daytime approaches, and 1 night radar approach on the other ship. Conducted almost continuous daytime radar tracking, utilizing both 1st and 2nd fire control tracking teams. When acting as target for Seahorse approaches, lowered the sound heads and trained sound crew. Found that regular sweeps by SJ radar, when other sub was at periscope depth, located the target before its periscopes were sighted by the lookouts. March 26th. Parted company with the Seahorse and proceeded independently to station. The mutual advantages which resulted from proceeding in company with another sub cannot be overestimated. On both subs, the fire control parties have had continuous, realistic drills. The radar, plotting and tracking parties have had a real target to work with. The radar operators have always had a target, day and night, to work on, and have developed a self-confidence and efficiency in their bearings and ranges. All lookouts have had the chance to see periscopes at various ranges and know what to look for. Lookouts have had the chance to study the appearance of another darkened ship at night, at different ranges, different angles on the bow, and under varying degrees of visibility. Both subs had the advantage of the other's lookouts and radar operators in detecting approach of planes. Psychologically, the presence of another sub lessened the usual monotony of a normal cruise to station. Many mentioned that it didn't seem as if the patrol had really started until the other sub took departure. March 27th. Converted fuel ballast tank into main ballast tank. We have gone 2,300 miles since fueling at Johnson Island and are on the edge of our operating area with over 90,000 gallons of fuel remaining. The recent conversion of number 4 main ballast for fuel has certainly simplified the problem that used to cause many a headache. March 29th. Lookout sighted Wolai Island, distant 15 miles. Sighted plane which had just departed off from the island, made quick dive to 30 feet. Continued closing range on Wolai to reconnoiter. Periscope watch sighted land-based bomber over Wolei. Previous suspicion of a newly constructed airstrip on the island is correct. During morning, reconnoitered east coast of the atoll at range of 2 miles. Closed to range of 1 mile off RAR and commenced periscope photography. Periscope watch observed land plane, same type as previous on contacts, landing into the wind on Wolei Island. At same time, he sighted the airstrip with a bomber waiting to depart off. The lagoon seemed to be clear of shipping. Observed 2 Betty-type Mitsubishi bombers apparently searching area around entrance of lagoon. Altitude of bombers about 1,000 feet. Closed to range of 1,500 yards on Rower Island and observed a definite landing strip. 3 Betty-type bombers were on the runway and 5 more in the air at ranges of 2 to 5 miles. No shipping in the lagoon. Miscellaneous small construction jobs were in progress, and several tents and small shacks were noted. March 31st. Observed American aircraft bombing Wolei. They were met with fairly heavy fire from 20mm guns. Multiple Japanese aircraft contacts. Sighted at least 4 land-based bombers as they began search of our area. In the early dawn, they often passed as close as 7,000 yards without sighting us. Endeavored to reach a position about 1 mile south of lagoon entrance in order to catch any shipping moving in or out of the harbor. 0900. While lowering periscope after an observation, an aircraft bomb landed close by. The bridge talkback was knocked out of order, several light bulbs were shattered, and the ship was well shaken up. No material damage of importance. Increased depth to 100 feet and made radical change in course. Ran at 80 feet during remainder of day, back and forth across the approaches to Wolei, moving up to periscope depth every 15 minutes. Within half mile of lagoon entrance. 2 medium bombers were on the runway and another was taking off. Looks as if last night's harassing raid served only to stir them up. 0800. American planes sighted, headed for Wolei. Contacted aircraft by voice and learned of downed pilot drifting toward reefs off the second island west of Wolei.
Submarine Harder, pilot in the water, attempt rescue immediately.
Made full speed on 4 engines. From here on, the picture in the skies looked like a gigantic Cleveland air show. With dozens of fighters forming a comfortable umbrella above us, we watched a show that made the Hollywood colossals seem tame. We rounded the southeast coast of Wolei, 2 miles off the beach, and had the perfect ringside seat. The plastering that the airmen gave this Jap base was terrific. Bombs of all sizes rained on every structure on the island. Several buildings seemed to be lifted and thrown high in the air. Causeways between the various islands were bombed. Oil or gasoline storage tanks blew up, covering the islands with heavy clouds of black smoke. The runway on the island was hit time and again with large and small bombs. It was hard to believe that anything could be left on the islands after the first waves of planes had gone over, and yet some bursts of anti-aircraft fire continued to meet the planes on each attack. The bombers hit Wolei from the south, waited for the smoke to clear, reformed, and fighters then gave it the works from east-west. Hit the place from all directions, peeling off from high above and diving straight into the anti-aircraft fire that still persisted. Many looked as if they would go right on through the blanket of smoke and crash on the islands, but all managed to pull out just above the trees. Fires blazed intermittently on Wolei and most of its adjacent islands, and gradually the anti-aircraft defense was reduced to a few sporadic bursts. Fighters now zoomed the Harder 1 mile off the northeast corner of Wolei. Battle surface stations were manned. The ship flooded down and maneuvered into a spot about 1,500 yards off the beach. White water was breaking over the shoals only 20 yards in front of the bow. Planes now advised us that if rescue looked too difficult from here, and it did, that a better approach might be made from another direction, backed off to make approach from another angle. The aviator had been standing on the beach and was now observed to fall and lie there outstretched on the sand. His collapse as undoubtedly due mainly to physical exhaustion, but also to the disappointment in seeing his chances of rescue fade away. We were then advised by the plane that further air reconnaissance showed the first approach best after all.
Submarine Harder, change course, come west. Attempt pilot rescue from eastern side of the island.
Reversed course and headed back at full speed. Made ready the rubber boat. No paddles were aboard, maneuvered the ship in for a second attempt at rescue, until the forward torpedo room reported bottom scraping forward, and worked both screws to keep the bow against the reef while preventing the ship from getting broadside to the waves. The 3 volunteers jumped over the side and commenced pushing and towing their rubber boat toward the beach about 1,200 yards away. A rope was paid out from the sub to the rubber raft in order to pull it back from the beach. Meanwhile, one of the planes had dropped another rubber boat to the stranded aviator, who got in and commenced feebly paddling it to sea against the tide. When the rescue party reached a spot where they could stand up, Lieutenant Thomason was directed to remain with the rubber boat, while Lieutenant Logan and Frank Ryan waded on through the surf toward the aviator. Both were in the breakers, and their feet and legs were badly cut by the coral reefs. After about half an hour, Logan and Ryan, alternately swimming and wading, reached the aviator, whose raft had meanwhile drifted farther away. By this time, he was thoroughly exhausted. They put him in the raft, and by alternately pushing and swimming, headed back toward their rubber boat, from which a rope led to the submarine about 500 yards away. Meanwhile, a float plane, also attempting rescue, taxied over the rope to the raft and severed the line. The entire rescue party was now stranded. Thompson was then recalled and managed to swim back to the sub after a hard battle against the tide. Another volunteer swimmer, Freeman Paquet, Jr., dove over the side and managed to swim a rope to the 3 men standing just inshore of the heavy breakers. This rope was made fast to the raft, and little by little, the 4 men were pulled through the breakers and brought back to the ship. Throughout the entire rescue, the cooperation of the aviators was superb. They kept up a continuous pounding of the islands with bombs and flew in low to strafe the Japs and divert their attention from the rescue. In spite of this, Jap snipers concealed in the trees along the beach commenced shooting at the ship and rescue party, and bullets whined over the bridge, uncomfortably close. Too much praise cannot be given to the officer and the 3 men who effected this rescue. Its daring execution, under the noses of the Japs and subject to sniper fire from the beach, can be classified as a truly courageous accomplishment. And the rescued aviator, Ensign John Galvin, though physically exhausted, showed a character that refused to admit defeat. It is a privilege to serve with such men. 1300. With aviator and rescue party recovered, the sub was backed clear of the reef and headed out to sea. Surfaced and set course for the traffic lanes between Truk and the Mariana Islands. April 6th. Patrolling on surface, crossing and recrossing the Rabaul-Saipan traffic lanes. This is our 8th day in assigned operating area. Not a single ship has been sighted. Unless we are just having poor luck in running across Jap ships, it begins to appear that the recent airstrikes in this vicinity have swept it clean of enemy shipping, or else they are holding the traffic in distant ports until the situation becomes more favorable to them. It is very unlikely that we have been sighted in ships routed around us, for we have had no aircraft contact since April 1st and have purposely conducted our patrol at least 200 miles from Wolei, where our presence was known. At least 90% of our patrol so far has been made on the surface, so coverage has been good. April 8th. Patrolling on surface on the Saipan-Wolai line. Sighted masts of 3 small ships inshore of the patrol craft. One was pinging. Attempted an end-around to evade the patrol craft and maneuver for a good look into the lagoon. Harder was detected by the patrol craft, which now headed our way, alternately pinging and listening. Attempted to evade at periscope depth, but was finally forced deep. Found a 2-degree negative gradient at 310 feet. Ran silently at 350, but the patrol vessel stayed with us. Heavy black funnel smoke sighted over the lagoon at Wolai. Group of bombers sighted through the periscope. All are flying low, circling and sweeping a wide area across the southern approaches to Wolai. Seas were glassy as we moved in toward entrance. Intention is to fire torpedoes at any ship found at anchor, but in view of smooth seas, heavy and persistent air coverage, and the alert patrol craft guarding the entrance, it was decided that the risk was not justified. Decided to move to a spot several miles north of Wolai, from which we could move to intercept as they headed north. Guam or Saipan bound. Such a position will also put us in a favorable spot to sight ships moving south and heading for Wolai. End of Part 1.